Telling good stories is very important in communication. And when I say stories, I'm not referring to fairy tales. We tell stories every day at work, with your family, with your friends. We can use the stories to illustrate points. For example, when you explain something at work, you could give an example, and that example could be a story. They are also great for presentations to engage your audience and make them connect with wherever you are explaining. So, stories are great tools, and a lot of people take them for granted. We should become masters at the art of telling stories. In this video, I'm going to share with you 5 steps, 5 points that you have to cover if you want to structure your story and make it impactful. Let's dive in. Point number 1. You have to start your story with a good hook. There are different types of hooks. For example, you could use a question, a thought provoking question, like, for example, what makes a good presentation different from a bad presentation? The answer lies in good storytelling. You could also use an intriguing quote, like, for example, the most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. You could also use a promise, like, for example, by the end of this tutorial, you will know how to tell stories perfectly. Second point, once you have introduced your hook, you have to set the context. Basically, you have to tell your audience about the scenario. Where is the story happening? When is the story happening? Or what characters are going to be involved in the story? You also need to tell what's happening. You need to explain the situation, the problem, perhaps. And that is going to take you to point number 3. You have to elaborate on the problem or the actual story. You have to develop the idea of what you want to tell people. Then you got point number 4, which is the solution. This is what we call the turning point, where you have to describe how the problem was resolved. And finally, point number 5, you need to end with a lesson, a conclusion. Highlight the takeaway or why the story matters.